can think. And I know all of you in the audience, you have 30 minutes a day that you can free up to exercise, whether it's running, yoga, or lifting weights. All right, so the next habit, meditation. I got into meditation when I was reading the biographies of really famous people, like Steve Jobs, Apple, or Ray Dalio, founder of the world's largest hedge fund, Bridgewater. And so all of these people, and you'll start noticing this, all of these really famous, successful people, they all say, you gotta meditate every day. And I'll tell you, when I started meditating, what I realized was it helped ground me as an entrepreneur. Because as an entrepreneur, there are days where you feel like you're just gonna kick some ass and destroy everyone. And there's other days where you think you're gonna go bankrupt. So it's this roller coaster of emotions. And meditation helps keep you centered and helps balance you out. Eating a Paleolithic diet. So Paleolithic refers to the diet that our ancestors ate. This is lean protein, fruits and vegetables. So no pasta, no rice, no carbs, no bread. Lean protein, fruits and vegetables. And the evidence is just so clear. If you eat this way, you're gonna be so much healthier, think clearer, your life will be so much better. You already know this. So if you eat pizza every day for a week, you feel like garbage. Whereas if you eat healthy, you know how that makes you feel. I like to think of it, the analogy is your car. You put premium gasoline in your car, it runs really well. You put diesel in your car, and then over time, your car is just gonna break down. Next habit. Every day, schedule 1 hour to work on your idea, the thing that you love. Because after you graduate, my guess is most of you are gonna work full-time for some other company. And so you're gonna push forward that company, but it's gonna be hard for you to actually push forward what you believe in. Whereas if you schedule 1 hour every day, I find 1 hour first thing in the morning, almost when I wake up after I exercise, because it's gonna compound. Hour after hour, week after week, you're gonna build something that's gonna become really big. And this is how I started up Spartan Bioscience. I was working full-time at another company, and every day I would take at least 1 hour and work on Spartan. And then over several months, it got to the point where I was able to quit that full-time job and work full-time on Spartan. Okay, next. Every day take 2 10-minute walks. Walking, the evidence shows, is almost like a form of meditation exercise. Clears your mind, helps you think better. Next daily habit, reading 30 minutes a day. So back to the strategy. You're going after a new market of users. By definition, that means no one's ever gone after these users before. There's no playbook that you can look up to say exactly what you should do. You're gonna have to use your creativity to solve problems that no one's ever seen before. And for creativity to work, you need to have raw material to recombine into new solutions. And so by reading, you build up those building blocks that you can actually come up with these creative solutions. Second to last, gratitude. Back to being an entrepreneur. There's gonna be tough days. Most of your days, you're gonna have people telling you no all the time. Stuff's gonna fail. And what I find really helpful, and the evidence is there, before you go to sleep, review your day and think, what was the thing I was most grateful for today? What really made me happy? And if you have that attitude of gratitude, it's gonna change your psychology. It's gonna make you focus on the positive things, and that will help keep you going through the tough times. Okay, last habit, and what I think might be the most important. Get 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night. So I can tell you, when I was a doctor, I was working 80 to 100-hour weeks. I wasn't getting much sleep at all. And so when I started being an entrepreneur, I was like, I'm just gonna do exactly the same thing. I'm just gonna work all the time. And you know this because you hear people tell you, if you're not passionate enough, you're only passionate enough if you're working all the time, if you're hardly ever sleeping, if you're doing hackathons, you're just busting your ass. I can tell you this is flat out not true. The science is really clear. You need that sleep because it's for your health, for your creativity, for your brain power. I know when I get a good night's sleep, I can think so much clearer, and I'm so much better with people. Okay, so now you have the system of 8 daily habits. If you do even one of them, it's gonna change your life. But the reason it's a system is because if you do them all, they amplify each other. And then you can be even more massively successful. So for an example, if you sleep 7 to 8 hours a night, it's going to help you exercise. It's going to help you do that 1 hour of work on what you love every day. Okay, so I've shared my 2 greatest secrets with you. The strategy of what you should start is that existing technology to new users. And then to help you every single day have that system of 8 daily habits. So this is my 4-month-old. So he was just born in, thanks guys, thanks. He was just born in December. His name is Wolf. I ask myself all the time, what's Wolf's future gonna be like? And I think this is why I'm really proud to work on Spartan, because these DNA devices, these boxes we're making, I know he's never gonna die of end-stage tuberculosis, and it's gonna help him with other diseases. And what I'm hoping you're gonna do with this information I've given you is, you're gonna take that information, those secrets, and you're gonna put it on your world-changing idea, and you're gonna make the world way better for Wolf, for your friends, for your family, for everyone in the world. Okay, one last thought. So here's my email address, and the reason I'm putting it up here is because in my career as an entrepreneur, I can tell you there's been those times when things looked really bad, and there was a mentor or a friend or someone who reached out and gave me a helping hand, a word of encouragement, who helped me out during those dark times. And so when it comes time, when you find that thing that you really love, the way that you're gonna change the world, drop me a line, because I'd love to be involved in how you're gonna do that. Thank you. All right, questions. What do you want to know? Ask me anything.
Hi, I'm Christoph.
Hi, Christoph.
Hi. Okay, so let's say I want to be you.
Right.
What do you recommend doing as studies for the next years?
That's a great question. So studies for the next year. So what I find really helpful is, it's back to my experience as a doctor. You want to become an amazing entrepreneur, what do you got to do? So in medicine, what we do is we start studying and we train. So for example, if you had an idea of the type of entrepreneur you want to be, let's say you want to be the next type of hardware engineer. So you just start preparing, just like you would be training for the Olympics or training for anything else. Start preparing, start reading, find that coach in that area, find a mentor who's specialized in that area. So do you have an area that you're interested in, Christoph? Yeah, health. What's that? Health. Right, so then for health, you would pick, what's that area of health? Let's say it was like exercise, you'd learn everything you can about exercise, find a coach, find another health entrepreneur to help you out, and start practicing.
Over here, Paul. Hi, so my name is Jacob, and my question...
Hey, Jacob.
Hi. So my question to you is, starting off in the science tech industry, there's usually at least a stigma where you'd need a very large amount of money or a huge amount of backing to do a startup in that industry to compete with some of the kingpins like HP and other companies that have been in this industry forever. So what did you do to overcome that barrier and basically have the funding and resources to design and start your own labs?
Right, that's a really great question, Jacob, because as you're saying, in science, for example, even from the beginning, we needed some sort of lab. And so you're always trying to figure out how can you do more than anyone thinks possible with less than anyone thinks possible. It's one of my favorite John Doerr quotes from Kleiner Perkins. And so I tell you, when we started off our lab, I actually bought used equipment off eBay, set it up in my apartment, like pipetters, centrifuges, all off eBay, and set up my own lab. And then you do your first experiments, you get your first data set, then you take that to investors, you raise your first $100,000, you can then upgrade to a better lab, and you keep leveling up each time. It's almost like, does anyone play video games in this audience? Yeah, okay, we have a few people. It's almost like everyone starts off at like level 1 World of Warcraft, and then you keep leveling up until you finally get to level 60 or level 80. And so you start off with whatever money you have, and you work that way up. Does that answer your question?
Hello, my name's Nick. I have a question for you. That's my best friend. He's studying he's in med sci right now, and he's studying to go to med school. And he's always stressing to me about how he's struggling with the massive amount of memorization and the massive amount of content that he has to understand throughout his studies? And what would be your personal tips to him, having gone through it yourself?
So, Nick, I'm the wrong person to ask. So I'll tell you guys a little story. So when I was in medical school, I was sick of studying, and I skipped almost every class. So when we graduated, I got an award from my classmates for the guy who skipped the most classes in med school and still graduated. And so one of the things I found about med school is once you're in, they don't want you to fail. So they'll do everything possible to make you pass. And once I realized that, I tried to study the least I could to actually just pass the test and take all the rest of the time to start up. I was actually spending my time not goofing off. I was going to the lab and trying to invent new things. So back to your buddy, if you want to succeed at the medical game, there's no alternative. You really have to do all that memorization. Like I had a roommate, she studied every single day, and she just memorized. She was a memorizing machine. And I knew there's no way I could ever compete against her because I just don't have the motivation. I don't care to memorize all this stuff. I think it's, my personal opinion, I think it's a waste of time. But that's just me.
Hi, my name is Gabby, and I'm also a high school student and currently looking for a mentor if anyone can help with startups. So my question is, you mentioned a lot of habits like taking walks, meditating, getting 8 hours sleep, and that's a lot of time that takes up in a day. So how are you more efficient? How do you use all the time during your day to 100% be productive? Right,
that's a great question, Gabby. So one of the things I found is I am not very efficient. I'm one of the laziest people you'll meet. And by being lazy, it makes sure I only work on things that I really care about. And back to these habits. So these habits only take a few hours out of every day. You have 16 hours just like the rest of us. I'm not any different from you. I still have only 16 hours of waking time just like you. And so if you take 2 hours out of every day to do those habits, you'll find that's actually, if you just do those 2 hours, you don't need to be efficient with the other 14 hours. You could actually play World of Warcraft for the other 14 hours, because with just those 2 hours, you would have at least spent 1 hour a day working on what you really love. And so that's why I find get the basics right, get those daily habits right, then all the rest of the stuff, you can do whatever you want.
Hey, my name is Alan, and I was wondering, how do you distribute actually the distribution channel you use for your type of product? Do you sell online? Do you use salespeople? I would like to know. And the price also.
Sure. So our DNA devices, so the answer to your question is we use all that stuff because it really depends. So the nature of a DNA device is, back to that Sony PlayStation example. So you have all these different types of tests, some for infectious diseases that go in hospitals, others for, let's say, office buildings. So each type of product actually has a different distribution channel that works well. So for example, hospitals, distributors often work well. For other types of tests, salespeople work well. So it just depends. So I'd say this kind of boils down to tactics. I find you don't really need to sweat the tactics. It's more look at the strategy. It's look at what you have and figure out what's the best way to sell that thing in that way. It's, distributors will be right for something,